Hey everyone, it's January and that means it's time to go through this, Vinegar Syndrome's first subscriber package of 2022. Let's go! Hey everyone, Mondo Ben here. We're talking cult movies on disc, specifically Vinegar Syndrome in this video, and please like and subscribe down below. If you like this video, I would love to keep you informed as we have more stuff hit the channel over the coming days. And I'm going to break this video into two parts. The first part, we're going to focus on the titles that you will get as part of a 2022 subscription package. That's the base subscription, the only subscription now that Vinegar Syndrome offers, and you get 4 titles in there, one of which is a box set. Then I'm going to follow this with a second video looking at some of the partner titles in January. Not all of the partner titles. There is now so many partners that Vinegar Syndrome has brought on that you really can pick and choose. And I've got, I think, 4 or 5 titles that I look really interesting, one of which I'm super excited about from one of the labels using Vinegar Syndrome for their distribution and their facilities. Okay, let's get into it with the first title from this month, and it's a 4K UHD. Vinegar Syndrome's doing more and more of these 4K UHD titles. It's a fairly high-profile release, I think, from a title that a lot of you will remember from the VHS days. I certainly remember seeing this back on VHS. I haven't seen it since VHS, so my memory of it is pretty hazy. And that's Dead Heat. Dead Heat, directed by Mark Goldblatt, 1988, starring Joe Piscopo and Treat Williams. It's a cop movie. It's a horror comedy. If you remember it, I'll read you the description from Vinegar Syndrome. Detectives Doug Bigelow and Roger Mortis, see what they did there, have just tried and failed to take down a ring of master thieves who have been targeting high-end jewelry dealers. While orchestrating a massive siege, the thieves are violently eliminated, one blown apart and the other crushed. While being autopsied, the forensic pathologist makes an inexplicable discovery. The dead men were already dead before being killed. In other words, they were zombies. With little information to go on besides the presence of a strange man-made substance in the cadaver's flesh, Bigelow and Mortis attempt to piece together the mystery, which eventually leads them to a chemical plant, wherein Mortis, true to his name, winds up being killed by a hulking zombie. But who's better to fight zombie criminals than a zombie cop? There you go. So it's it's a pretty good description of what the movie's about. I pretty remember it. You get it in a newly scanned 4K version from its original camera negative. We get a commentary track with Mark Goldblatt and screenwriter Terry Black, alongside producers Michael L. Meltzer and David Halpern. The Building Blocks of Movies, a brand new interview with director Mark Goldblatt. 1,000 Feet of Lightning, a brand new interview with visual effects artist Ernest Farino, who you'll remember as the director of Steel and Lace, which I reviewed a few days ago. I'll just skip through this. New interview with second unit director Patrick Reed Johnson. New interview with editor Harvey Rosenstock. A brand new interview with composer Ernest Troost. An archival interview with makeup effects creator Steve Johnson. You get a stills gallery, the original trailer, TV spot, deleted scenes, some archive EPK stuff, some other promotional bits and pieces. It's a really loaded release. Slipcase, obviously, and the original artwork. I flipped this underneath so you can see what I think is probably the VHS artwork from back in the day. Looks to be a great release. You can see the back here. I can't wait to get into this. I really like this movie from my memory. It's one of those movies that stood out amongst tons of those kind of late 80s horror comedy type things. So I'm excited to get into this. I will report back on this in the next couple of days and my feedback on what I thought of the disc. All right, next up is I love Italian ripoffs. I love Italian post-apocalyptic ripoffs. I love Italian westerns and I love Italian crime movies, often which are ripoffs. The one thing I haven't seen yet is this entry to the genre, Master of the World, which is an Italian ripoff of that trend in the 80s. If you remember Clan of the Cave Bear, there was a few others, these cavemen movies that came out in the 80s. And Master of the World is an Italian ripoff of those. It's from 1983, directed by Alberto Cavalloni. And I'll read the description to you here. At the dawn of human civilization, hundreds of thousands of years ago, war was a way of life, with rivaling tribes and vicious nomads transforming the earth into a non-stop bloodbath. Bog, a young man who dreams of being the leader of not just the tribe, but of all human civilization, begins a bloodthirsty quest for domination, wherein he'll need to fight and conquer both man and beast to truly ascend to the power he desperately craves. So it's described here as an ultra-gory Italian cash-in on the Hollywood trope of ancient times action-adventure movies. Yeah, I'm really excited for this. I don't know much about it other than that. It's newly scanned and restored in 4K from the original camera negative. Quest for survival, an interview with the assistant director Stefano Pomiglia. An interview with Davide Pulici, biographer of writer-director Alberto Cavalloni. There's a theatrical trailer. There's reversible cover artwork. It's the same underneath here, I think. Oh yeah, look, there's some additional artwork in there. I didn't flip this. I don't know. It's either going to be good or terrible. It'll certainly be watchable. I mean, a gory caveman movie, what's not to like there? Next up is the 4th volume of Forgotten Gialli. Now, this is actually my first one of these box sets. I'd heard mixed things about the early volumes, and I've heard it got really good with volume 3, which I'm going to go back and pick up at the next sale. And yeah, it looks great. I mean, Vinegar Syndrome's box sets are really beautiful anyway. They come in these lovely, they've got lovely kind of reflective stuff. Inside, you get the 3 movies. And these are several movies that I had heard of going into this. I'm not going to read through all of them. Arabella Black Angel, which is sort of a late-era Italian Gialli, 1989. There's a really interesting period. The late 80s Giallo gets a really bad rap as being pretty... It's sort of starting to lean into that period of where American cinema or American movies were doing the direct-to-TV erotic thriller genre, which obviously has a lot of Giallo influence anyway. This is real late era Arabella Black Angel. I've heard it's super sleazy. Italian Giallo from that era. It looks great. The Killer is Still Among Us. I don't know anything about this one. It's from 86, so another sort of late era Giallo. And then finally, The Sister of Ursula, which is another Italian one, more in the kind of peak Giallo period, 78 in this case. So, all 3 of those titles, I mean, they are pretty obscure. The only one that I had heard of is Arabella Black Angel, which, if you look on Letterboxd, does seem to have, it has a bit of a following. And, okay, final title, Curfew, which is from 1989. Kind of what I know about this movie, has pretty terrible reviews on Letterboxd, is that it is... I know 2 things. Firstly, it's a sort of ostensibly a home invasion movie, and it was refused a certificate, so effectively banned by the BBFC. Post-Video Nasties era, this is 1989, so there weren't that many movies that were being refused certificate at this period, so I'm intrigued to see that. I've heard a lot of confusion over why it was refused a certificate. Slipcase, original artwork underneath. I'll read you the description here. Ray and Bob Perkins are brothers whose grisly killing spree has landed them on death row. Plotting a daring escape, they break free from prison with vengeance in the mind, setting targets in the form of the key witnesses against them, but particularly the judge in the trial and the prosecuting attorney. Leaving a trail of maimed corpses as they enact their revenge, the brothers finally arrive at their prime target, the home of District Attorney Walter Davenport and his wife. What they don't expect, however, is the late return home of the Davenport's teenage daughter, Stephanie. Mixing action, home invasion drama, and slasher pretenses, Gary Winnick's directorial debut, Curfew is a tense, edge-of-your-seat thriller with a high body count and a healthy dose of dark humor. Not much in the way of extras on this one. Newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35mm into positive. and an interview with the actor Wendell Wellman, and an interview with the editor Carol Kravitz-Akanian. And you get a trailer on here as well. So, don't know too much about that one. Again, I'll report back as I get through these. I'm going to try and watch these this week. We are going to pause there, and I'll come back in part 2 and to walk you through some of the partner videos, as I said. See you on part 2.